So when did he lose it? He lost it just as I.
He's coming. You see R walk 36?
Okay, I'm
He's
just
coming back.
Here he comes. Okay, he's coming back on.
Sorry, everybody.
We've got problems.
Luca, I can't get myself.
We hear you.
I know I have to get my video started.
Oh, wow. Very good.
We see you.
Sorry, we lost our internet for some reason. Everybody called Bezek and complained. Okay, so let's get back. I'm connected now to my wife's cell phone. Okay, so we're in Rabbeinu Bechaye, and he's explaining that this ladder, according to Pshat, according to literal meaning, was actually, you know, a dream ladder that started with its feet at Beersheba and hits Shemayim over Rabbi, over the Beit HaMikdash. Who Beit HaMikdash, who Beit Elokim, the Beit HaMikdash is the house of God. Who Ha'ikar, that's the essence. Ki Rosh HaSulam Kenegdo. That's where the top of the ladder, where Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to intersect with or interface with Olam Hazeh, that's what's going to be over Harabayit. But Kadosh Baruch Hu needs a love. Kadosh Baruch Hu is standing over this. That's why after the dream, Yaakov Avinu says, wow, this is the house of God. And this is the gateway to heaven, which is right above Har Habayit. Zehu Beit HaMikdash Kenegdo Rosh Shel Sulam Magia B'Nisma B'Shamayim. The head of the ladder, top of the ladder, is right there, and it goes through into Shamayim. V'zeh Shar Shamayim Beersheba Shesham Raglei Yisrael. But he's saying that the gateway starts in Beersheba, which was the house of the Avot, for most of the year when they weren't in Hebron in the heat of the summer. But so he says that's the bottom. Other people say that the foot of the ladder was in Beersheba, the middle of the ladder, where it intersects with heaven, is over Yerushalayim, but the top of the ladder was over Beit El, north in the Shomron, and that's got 3 points to the ladder. But the Rabbeinu Bechaye is saying just 2, and Beit El is out of the picture according to this shot, this interpretation. Picture number 1. Number 2, Baldata Midrash, but according to the Midrash, now we're going to see another Midrash in a few minutes, but according to the first Midrash he's going to quote from, he says the Sulam isn't the ladder. The Sulam is Har Sinai. The Midrash says that forget about ladders. It's really a reference to the Beit HaMikdash. I'm sorry, to the Har Sinai. Why Har Sinai? Because Hoshbina Didin Kechushbina Didin. Because the cheshbon of this one is like the cheshbon of that one. That's a fancy way of saying they have the same gematria. Sulam and Sinai, skip the vav in Sulam, now take out the vav. Sulam without the vav, and Sinai with 2 yuds, they both have the gematria 130. Kal, Kuf Lamed. And Kal, like Kal Kenesher, swift like an eagle. So Kal means to fly and be way up there, light, like, a balloon and flying up there. So they both have that gematria. So we're talking not about a ladder. He's dreaming about Har Sinai. And why does that work? Mutzav Arza Ke'inyan Shekatuv V'Yityatzvu B'Tachtit HaHar. It said, and it was planted on the ground. However, that the Jews were planted on the ground, and the mountain was held over them, but the Jews were standing at the foot. So the standing wasn't the mountain; it was the people at the foot of the mountain. V'rosha magir shemaim ki'inyan shekatuv. That's that the head reaches heaven. Oh, what's that talking about? Ha bo'ir ba'esh ad lev hashamayim. So the pasuk in Devarim, when we have the repeat of the Ten Commandments of Aseret Dibrot, it says there that the mountain was burning, was in flames, until the heart of heaven, so that the mountain somehow did intersect with heaven. V'hinei malchei Elokim zeh Moshe v'Aaron. When it says angels were going up and down, don't read angels, read the word messengers. The messengers of God who were going up and down the mountain were Moshe and Aharon HaKohen. So that's a totally different picture. So that we're thinking something else. We'll come back to this idea in just a couple of minutes. Va'aldata seichel. Okay. So he's given what he says is the literal meaning in the dream as a ladder. A midrashic meaning, it's Mount Sinai. And now he's giving what he considers to be a philosophic approach, a haskalah, an enlightened approach, and that is Inyan Hasulam Remez L'Mitziyut. All of reality is a ladder. All of reality is this phenomenon of things go up and things go down. I mean, we talk about up and down when we talk about the stock market. We talk about up and down when we're talking about reality as presented in this dream of Yaakov Avinu. Lefisha Sulam Yeshbo Madregot Rabot. Since, and I told you can decide for yourself how many Madregot rungs or steps there are on the ladder, but he says there are many, each one above the other. Lekach Yamshil Bo HaKatuv Et HaMetziut. That's the way reality is. Reality is like this hill or this ladder, this structure you got to climb. Al Shem Shamitziut Nechlak L'Shlosha Chalakim. All of reality that we understand is separated into three parts. Each part has a certain number of dargot, steps, levels, but there are three overall sections that make up what we call reality. But what are the three? Chelek HaMalachim, a section called the angels. Sounds like the angels are quacking. Okay, I don't know where that came from. V'chelek HaGalgalim, the constellations and the planets and the galaxies. V'chelek Olam HaShafel. So in other words, there is three different levels to reality. One is Olam Hazeh, Earth. The other is the planets and the solar system and the galaxies and the universe. And then above that is a spiritual reality inhabited by the angels and Hashem. Okay, so there is earth, space, heaven. And each one of those areas has a number of levels. We believe there are 7 levels before you can leave this world, and there are 3 more levels once you get beyond this world. The 7 levels down here are the 7 earthly characteristics, which are represented by 7 of our giants in history. You know, Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. And there are 3 levels above that, that are the cognitive ones, Chachma, Bina, and Dat. Those are the 10 Sfirot. 7 of them are available down here, and 3 of them are in heaven. Okay. Another opinion. The Chacham, the scholar, Ben Tibin, that's Ibn Tibin. Ibn Tibin was the translator of the philosophic works of the Rambam. The Rambam, as opposed to his halachic work, the Mishnah Torah, which he wrote in Hebrew, his philosophic works like Moreh Nevuchim, the Guide for the Perplexed, was written in Arabic. So Ibn Tibbon was the translator and was known in Spanish circles as a great scholar. The hero, Ki Hatsulam Hu Yemos Le'echut HaHasagat. It has to do with comprehension. The ladder represents human ability to understand things. Shahamina Enushi, that the human species is a min, Efshar lo la'asiga ad sheyeh shalem bo, that humans can grasp a lot of philosophic knowledge, so that the ladder represents different levels that different humans can be masig. So the ladder is like an IQ test. You know, if you get to 70, you know, then you're sort of average or in the middle of the ladder. And then 100 is, you know, you get to be a little bit smarter. And, you know, then there are people that are like 180, you know, they get what. So he's saying that the ladder represents hasagot, the ability of humanity to grasp. And it's like a graph of how high different people can go. And he's saying that really humans are capable of grasping Magir l'Shamayim unto the heavens. People, we don't necessarily use all of our, you know, gray matter, all of our capabilities within our brains, but theoretically, we should be able to grasp and understand, at least rudimentarily, the reality of this world. And the ladder represents the levels that humans should be able to grasp. If you wouldn't mind flipping over, we've got a couple of more pshatim, a couple of more realities of or explanations for the ladder we want to hit. And I already feel the time pressure because I was running late. I hope you don't mind if I go over a little bit. And here's another midrash. Tana bar kapara, let chalom she'ein lo pitaron. Bar kapara said, there's no such thing as a dream in Tanakh. There might be some dreams like this in reality, in lives, but in Tanakh, there's no such thing as a dream that doesn't have an explanation. You can't just say, oh, it's a dream, it's narishkeit, oh, it's foolish. You can't understand it. It's just, you know, it's like a, you know, it's like a cartoon or a movie or whatever. It doesn't necessarily have any reality. That's not true of biblical dreams. Every biblical dream has a pitaron, has a solution, has a reality to be understood. The sulam zeh ha keves. The ladder going up like this wasn't a ladder. We don't know what a sulam is. In modern Hebrew, a sulam is ladder, but we don't know what the biblical Hebrew meant by. He said, no, it's a kevesh. It's the ramp. What ramp is it talking about? It's a ramp which is mutzav arza, which is firmly planted on the ground. Ze mizbeach. It's the ramp going up to the mizbeach. Mizbeach adama taseli. And he quotes a pasuk from right after the Ten Commandments in chapter 20 of Shemot. And he says, make an earthen altar for me. For Rosh Megir Shemaim. But we say that this ramp goes all the way up to heaven. We know that the ramp in the Beit HaMikdash only went up about 6 meters. It didn't go that high. Elu hakorbanot. The offerings which are brought and burned on that altar, they go straight up to heaven. Elu hakorbanot. She'rechan ola l'shmaim, whose fragrance goes straight up to heaven. V'hinei malchei Elokim, and so these angels of God, they're not angels. Who are they? Like in the second version, that it's Mount Sinai, and it was Moshe and Aaron. Here it's the Kohanim and the Kohanim Gedolim. It's the high priests. Olim v'yordim bo. They go up and down the ramp to do the avodah, the divine service in the Beit HaMikdash. Shehem olim v'yordim b'kevesh. They go up and down this ramp. And the ramp, it says, can't have steps. It must be a flat ramp because it was like considered lo tsanua to open their legs. They would walk up like foot, heel to toe, foot going up slowly up the ramp. And so that's what he's saying. So he says, "V'nei Hashem nitzav anta ra'iti et Hashem nitzav al mizbeach." That we now have a quote from the book of Amos, from Treasaf, from the 12 minor prophets, that the prophet Amos, who lived nearby in Tekoa, where my daughter lives about 10 miles from here, about 15 kilometers from here, and Amos said, "Oh, I saw God above the Mizbeach," that we were supposed to like visualize a Kadosh Baruch Hu over the. So let's stop a second before we see a couple of more ideas. What are they arguing about? That somebody says, "Oh, it's really a ladder," and somebody else says, "No, it's Mount Sinai." And somebody else, "No, it's human intellectual ability," and someone else, "No, it's the Mizbeach." What are they arguing about? They agree that the ladder represents our attempts to interact with Hashem, to reach spirituality. And the first team says that the way that we reach spirituality is this ladder. And it's like maybe when you daven, or maybe when, if you're a Navi, you get a prophecy, that's how you go up and down. Someone else says, no, it's Mount Sinai, it's Torah. The way that you can ascend to higher spiritual levels is through Torah study. So it's got to be Mount Sinai. And the third team says, no. How do we get close to Hashem? Divine service. Divine service historically meant the Beit HaMikdash, the temple, and the Mizbeach, the altar. To us, it means davening. And so they were arguing not so much about the dream as much as their philosophy of how a human can come closer to Hashem. That's what we have to think about when we think about the ladder. It's all of these pictures, in our minds or in art. There are a couple of, I thought about putting on one of the paintings by Chagall. Chagall did a number of paintings, supposedly, of the angels going up and down the altar. Up and down the ladder, excuse me. And some of them are interesting. They're worth looking up online and seeing his depictions. But the idea is there is some sort of vehicle, some sort of means from getting from down here to getting closer to Hashem. Whatever that means is, we call a sulam. It could be a ladder. It could be a ramp. It could be, I wrote in the beginning, an escalator. I don't know what it is. But the question is, what is the power that connects us down here to a Kadosh Baruch Hu up there? And that's a vast cosmic argument. Some people say it's our own efforts or it's history. Some people say some people say it's Torah. Some people say it's divine service. Bearing that in mind, we're going to see a couple of more approaches to understanding this issue. And the next three that all happen to be Hasidic. The first is the Kedushas Levi. The Kedushas Levi is Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev, who died in 1798, and he's like the one of the giants of the second generation of Hasidic masters, going into the third. V'yachalom, and he dreamed. V'hinei sulam. Yaakov has the dream, and behold, notice, please, that there's a ladder. The Adam b'tchilat avodato, a human, at the beginning of his divine service. Mitlahev libo bikirbo. His heart is mitlahev. It's on fire. It's enthusiastic. Lahav is a flame. It's vibrant. Bekirbo bechoshvo sha'al yodo mitnahagim kol ha'olamo. A person thinks, wow, my spiritual endeavor can have an impact on the entire connection between this world and Hashem. I can influence cosmic reality on a spiritual level. And that makes that person's heart strong and enthusiastic in one's divine service, avodah. Once you get a little bit, more mature, a little bit older, and better, you're actually in your divine service, whether it's learning or davening, whatever it is, you start to think, hey, this isn't really true so much. Rak la'Hashem yitbarach, v'Hashem yitbarach yitaneg bo, shehu yehei merkava l'shchina. And he says, no, I don't really have that great an impact. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu somehow gets pleasure gets oneg, some sort of positive vibes from the fact that I make this effort to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu is somehow reacts to it. And that makes us ki'ilu, as if we are a merkava, a vehicle for bringing HaKadosh Baruch Hu around. We're not as big an influence as we originally thought, but there's still this connection. V'zehu v'yachalom. And that's what it means when it said he had a dream. What is it? What's it mean to have a dream? To have a dream doesn't just mean to at night, when you go to sleep, have these funny, these funny stories that go through your head. That's not what it means to dream. Dream also means we dream when we're awake. To dream really means to have aspirations, to have, she'ifot, things that are really important to me that I really would love to feel that I'm doing and accomplishing. Lashon chozek kimo v'tachliyenu v'dechayeni. He says the word chalom can mean to give me strength, and he gives an example from Yeshayahu where the word clearly means to become stronger and to give life. By the way, it's related to the word to heal, achlama. Rivka and I went by the Beit Achlama in Telstone. The house where there's rehabilitation for women after they've had given birth, where they can recoup a little bit. So the word chet lamed mem can mean to become strong. So it's not that it was a dream. It's chizuk. He's getting encouragement from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, saying you can have an impact on spirituality in the world. The hainu sheyitchazek avodat Hashem b'libo, that he should do what? He should strengthen his divine devotion and avodah, service in his heart. Shu chazak ba'avodato, that he should be strong in his divine service. The hainu be'eit hatchala ba'avodato shetzarech chizuk v'chizuku al yedei zeh. And that's the encouragement. So in other words, not only Yaakov Avinu has this dream, we're supposed to have this dream too. We're supposed to also have these aspirations to feel that I also want to have a spiritual impact on this world, on the people around me, and on reality begadol, in the big picture. And that's what we should want. That's what we should dream. I mean, lahavdil, this is what Martin Luther King meant. We said, I have a dream. In other words, I have an expectation and aspiration And this is a beautiful idea. The Kedushas Levi is saying that the dream of Yaakov wasn't seeing this stuff. The dream of Yaakov was to really have an effect on the spiritual reality in the world. And we should want to do that too. I want to have an impact. And this is a very beautiful idea that should encourage and inspire us all. The Sfat Emet, who is the second Gera Rebbe, and he died in 1906, and Gor is a suburb of Warsaw. When he lived there, it was the Russian Empire. Today it's Poland. And when he took over from his grandfather, his father died when he was young. He was really raised by his grandfather. His grandfather, the Chedushi Arim, was the first Gera Rebbe. So when Yehuda Alter Leib took over the Yehuda Leib Alter, sorry. When he took over the Hasidus, there was a small group of Hasidim in the suburb of Warsaw. By the time he died in 1906, it was a massive movement. And today it's the third largest Hasidic group in Eretz Yisrael. They're also in other countries, in New York and other places in Europe too. But the biggest concentration of them is here in Eretz Yisrael. And they're the third largest group after Vizhnitz, Bells, and then Ben Ger. They have large satellite communities. In Ashdod, there are a lot of them. Okay. So Sfat Emet, who is a great scholar, said, talking about our pasuk. He says, "V'pasik v'nei sulam mutzav arza." You've got a ladder that is firmly planted on the ground. The locative, it's written mutzav and not nitzav. Mutzav means it's standing. Nitzav means it's like planted. So why is the funny language? Ki sulam zet sorech ha'adam lahamid do. That it's mutzav, it's set up. Somebody is setting up this ladder. It requires effort to set it up. In other words, in the dream, Yaakov is being told some assembly required. You have to do something to get that ladder to be there and to make this connection between heaven and earth. It's sort of like the Kedushas Levi, but it's a slightly different approach to it. And when a person mitakein sets it up, fixes it in the right way to its full height, hu hasulam, the human himself is the ladder. So here's a fourth pshat. So the ladder is a ladder that represents perhaps, the reality of our universe. The ladder is Mount Sinai. The ladder is the Mizbeach, is the altar in the Beit HaMikdash. So the Sfat Emet, I think the Kedushas Levi would agree, and so is the Tzivot Shalom going to agree. The ladder is Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu is the ladder. Hu hasulam, he himself is the ladder. Shegufo lemata, that his body is down below. V'nishmato, and his soul, magia hashamayma, his soul reaches the heaven. Umalche Elokim olim biyodim bo, and the angels of God go up and down on him. The angels are going up and down on Yaakov Avinu. Whether there are angels in this world depends on Yaakov. It's Yaakov who is motivating the motion of these spiritual beings into and out of this world. He gufo lemata mehem, because his body is below them. V'shorish nishmato lemala, and his. Someone just made a comment. Challenge your life. It's not like going. it is not only going out and learning and changing something in ourselves. Each challenge brings us higher and closer to Hashem. That's true, but it's like a ladder, because sometimes our experiences bring us lower. Now, the sad part about the ladder, I haven't been emphasizing it, but the sad part about the ladder is you can go down as well as up. Now, we're emphasizing the ability to go up, but there's angels going up and down. It can go both ways on the ladder. I can lose a step, which is sad. But yes, I agree. Thank you very much for that comment. The source of his soul is up there. In other words, his body is down here, his soul is up there. The angels go back and forth, but Yaakov is both below physically and above spiritually the angels. That's my soul, which is chelek me Eloka mimal, which is a little piece, a little section of divinity that HaKadosh Baruch Hu donated to me. That's above the angels. So in other words, we bracket all of the space that angels take up. My body below them, my neshama above them. That's why we, or in this case Yaakov Avinu, can be the ladder. L'chein adam nikra mahalech b'chol elu madrigot shel sulam. Okay. This is a famous Kabbalistic idea that many Hasidim talk about at great length. Humans referred to as walkers, movers. Now, I happen to like this idea since my name is Walk, so I like to think that I define humanity, but okay. But humans move. Angels cannot move. With angels, what you see is what you get. They don't change. HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates them, destroys them, based on whatever shlichut, based on whatever message that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to convey, that they only exist to do their shlichut, their agency, and then they poof, disappear, and new ones come in. There are just a few models of them, but there are billions of them whenever HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants something done. So, but humans, but they can't change, that's it. They're omdim. They just stand put. That's why it's so important when we say Shemon Esrei, and especially Kedusha, that we stand with our feet together and don't move, because we're making believe that we're angels for those minutes, saying Kadosh, 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 holy, holy, holy is God. So when we want to make believe we're an angel, we don't move. We stay put. But humans move, which means we can grow and advance. But we can also, we can also shrink and retreat, and we're working on the going up. But you should know that the possibility is also of coming down. We can go through all of those levels on that ladder. This ladder encompasses the vast spectrum of all of the human souls. So that eighth grader that said there are 7 billion steps, one for each human, that's not so far from what the Gera Rebbe is saying. Umada kikol ma shenimtza bechlal nimtza beprat. And you should understand that everything that happens in the big picture happens in the prat, in the small details as well. Ki ha'adam nikra olam katan, because humans are referred to in Kabbalistic circles as a microcosm of the universe, a small cosmos. And what he means by that, a microcosm, everything that's in the universe is in me. The physical, the spiritual, all of the elements that exist, I've got them all in me. So that we are a small version of the cosmos. So each person can consume or can be on all of the steps from the bottom to the top. Uketiv achakach v'yira, and he was afraid. He found this idea awesome in a scary sense. Ki chen tzarich lihiyot al yedei hasagat hamadrigot sheroa adam ad heichan koach nishmaso magan. Because a person has to start to think sometimes, how far can my soul go? How high can I achieve? And sometimes that's scary because, your aspirations are very high and maybe I can't get there. And we sometimes forget how potentially great we are, and we allow our physical limitations to intimidate us from perhaps achieving all we can spiritually. And that's why Yaakov Avinu was afraid. Would he be able to reach the levels of Avram and Yitzchak? For him, it was very, he had very high levels of models that he wanted to emulate. And he found that idea very scary. Not every, you get high on the ladder and there's no net below. It's the concept is sometimes very, very scary and intimidating. Okay, but going down, does it mean we don't have faith or emunah in Hashem, in God? It doesn't mean that. It means that somehow I've hit a bump in the road. I can have a lot of faith and still do the wrong thing. And then regret it and notice that I have to, I have to get back. I have to make up the space that and make up for what I did wrong. That's, Yom Kippur, we all have to do tshuva. That doesn't mean that we were bad people. It means we made mistakes. It may mean I did something really bad, but it may mean I just made mistakes. We're always supposed to be, according to the Balei Musar, from the mid-19th century, the students of Rabbi Yisrael Salanta were supposed to do, Chazal actually said it before him, but he pushed this idea very strongly. Everybody's supposed to make a cheshbon and nefesh every day. Was this day, today was, lahavdol, it's like the stock market, was today, in the, was I in the black today or was I in the red today? Was today a day I went higher? Was today, I retreated a bit. We're supposed to always be, that doesn't mean that we've lost our entire connection to Hashem. It means that, that there are bumps in the road. The last comment that's on the page, you have to forgive me if the English isn't so good. It's my translation from the Netivot Shalom. I don't have a copy online of it, so I had to decide, was I going to type it in Hebrew or was I going to translate it? It was just easier for me to translate it than my typing in Hebrew is so slow. The Netivot Shalom is Reb Shalom Noach Barzovsky, and he was the Slonim Rebbe, and he died in 2000. I had the privilege of not actually meeting him, but going to hear him a couple of times. They have a base medrash at the end of Mea Sharim, towards the old city side of Mea Sharim, away from Geula. They have a base medrash there, and he used to give lectures on Thursday afternoons that was open and to the public. And it was interesting to see that I would say a third of the audience coming to hear, I only went a couple of times, but about a third of the audience coming to hear the Slonim Rebbe were, kippot srugot, were people in knit yarmulkes that he welcomed very much. He spoke, although he spoke to his Hasidim in Yiddish, his addresses were in modern Hebrew, and he was very easy and clear to understand. It was a pleasure listening to him, and he was just so, I didn't have the nerve to go over and talk with him. I should have. But I saw how kindly he was to the people that went over to talk to him. He was very impressive. And anyway, so he has a parish on Chumash and on especially on the holidays. So this is a one paragraph from a much longer essay on the ladder. And he said, "Behold, there was a ladder standing on the earth, and its top reached the heavens. The intention here is to demonstrate that the purpose And the word he used is tachlis. Of course, it's tachlit, but even Israelis say tachlis. I mean, it's one of those words that just stays in Yiddish. What's the tachlis? What's the bottom line? That the tachlis of God's will is that the Jew should be involved in the matters of this world. Remember, there's a Hasidic Rebbe speaking. And he says, that's what the ladder teaches me. I can't divorce myself from this world. Remember, the ladder is Mutzav Arza. Yes, we, in everything we've said until now, have been concentrating on the fact that Rosho Magia Shemaima, that the top is in heaven, that we're striving and aiming, to the stars, to heaven, right, to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and Kisei Kavod, right, the divine throne on top. But it's Mutzav Arza. It's firmly planted in terra firma on this world, and still discover a way to be holy to God. That's the trick. The trick isn't to be a Luftmensch, to just make believe that you don't have a physical body and you don't have physical needs. That's not the trick. The trick is to understand I'm flesh and blood, and I'm supposed to make a living, and I'm supposed to feed my family and all of that, but yet remain holy to God. That's the message of the ladder. Standing on earth, but reaching heaven. Remember, the ladder is Yaakov. He's following the Hasidic approach. The ladder is Yaakov. Yaakov, like all of us, we're firmly planted on this world, but our heads reach heaven. The issue of the ladder is to instruct us concerning the establishment. Kviyut was the Hebrew. Likboa, to set up, to establish the service, the avoda of a Jew in the matters of this world. A Jew should always find himself within the framework of holiness. Now picture a ladder. Forget the other images. Now we've got a regular old-fashioned ladder. What's a ladder? A ladder is made up of a framework, two sides, and rungs, steps going up. So I not only have the up and down, I also have strictures, left and right. I can't venture. I can go up and down, but I can't go left and right. I have to stay on the straight and narrow. So in other words, I have to be involved in this world, strive to climb higher spiritually, but I have to do it within a misgeret, within a framework. The framework is Torah and mitzvahs. Because I can't go anywhere on the ladder if I'm outside the framework, if I'm floating in space. It doesn't work. So he says, he's the only parish I saw this in, that the essence of the ladder is not the rungs. The essence of the ladder are the two uprights on either side, which fence me in. And how do they fence me in? I have to make sure that I focus on the mitzvot, on being good, on never straying from the derech. We don't want to chas v'shalom be OTD, off the derech. It's very important that we stay in the pathway. That's the issue of the ladder. Even when one is descending, okay? In other words, okay, I'm descending. How am I descending the ladder? I went to Shacharis. I davened up a storm, and it was marvelous. And I cried, and I had tremendous devotion. And then I go to work, and I'm in work, and I'm thinking about I'm thinking about my business. I'm thinking about whatever it is. I have descended a couple of rungs from where I was during davening, but just because I came down a couple of steps to go to business and to work, nevertheless, one should nevertheless remain within the bounds of sanctity and never fall outside the holy framework. Even when I'm at work, I can't break halacha. I can't lie. I can't cheat. I can't steal. So even if I'm on momentarily or temporarily. On a downswing spiritually, I still have to stay within the framework, the Mizgeret. By the way, Mizgeret in modern Hebrew actually means a picture frame. Okay? I have to stay inside the Mizgeret. One should rise step by step until one finds that the head has reached the heavens. But my ultimate object is to go higher and higher and higher. And even when I'm working, my descent should be small because because I'm always, I'm always trying to be honest and yashar, straight with my clients or whatever I'm doing. So I'm always trying to get higher and higher so that our heads and our souls reach the heavens. That's the path, even in earthly matters. Never stray outside the holy parameters. Only by transforming oneself into a ladder can one shake themselves from the earthly hold on them. The ladder represents my ability to rise above earthly matters. I can't forget them. They're still, at, my basis, they're still at my base, my foundation. But nevertheless, I can get higher and higher to spiritual matters. Only by transforming themselves into a ladder can one shake themselves from the earthly hold on them and enter a place of holiness. Then one can bring along all earthly concerns and bring them close to God. I can still be thinking about, my job and thinking about my family's needs and all that. I don't have to reject that, and I don't have to lose that, but I have to keep it within the framework. To ascend to the point where one's head reaches the heavens, until the point where, and behold, God is standing above him. To spend our lives trying to go higher and higher, so that the only thing above me when I'm done is HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'atzmo u'b'chvodo. And that's the goal. And that's the message of the ladder. All of these images, I love those images that the ladder is reality and it's Jewish history and all of that. Okay, and that it's all of the adventures that Yaakov goes through, all the adventures the Jewish people go through. All of those are wonderful, and it's Torah, and it's the Beit HaMikdash. But ultimately, the best pshat is the ladder is us, and that we have to use this world as a ladder to get us closer and closer to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And ultimately, you have to believe two things. Number one, it's up to us. And number two, it's possible. When we believe those two things, then we can emulate Yaakov Avinu and reach a very, very high level. Okay, I apologize that I had that problem. I'm going to stay on a couple of minutes if people want to. I know I'm after 8:30, but I don't mind hanging in there if people want to ask a question or two or make very nice. Somebody says, Amen. Yeah. I mean, it's.
Thank you very much.
It's when you read the Netivot Shalom, what happens is the picture of the ladder is a tefillah. It's a prayer. We're praying that we can do this. It's really, it's very, very. I mean, I like all of the pshatim, but I mean, the Netivot Shalom really strikes very powerful. Okay. If there's no more questions, I'll call it an evening. Look forward to seeing you next week. Next week, we still have the same, call letters, but 2 weeks from now, Be'ezrat Hashem, I'll reset it up, and I hope I'll reset it up with a password, and we'll send out on the WhatsApp what the password is, so I won't have to admit you. You can just come in on your own with the password. Okay. Thanks so much for joining. Have a great week.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Did you admit everyone here? Because
I think
my
so.
friend was able to, while you were off and you had a problem, my
It's
friend got on.
possible. It's possible someone tried to come in. right now, okay, I got to 16 screens, which is, I think, as high as we've gotten.
It's very
But I
nice.
feel bad if someone, if someone lets you know that they didn't get in, please apologize profusely. Wow, that would be terrible. One person came. I admitted one person after my internet problem. So it's possible someone tried while my internet was down.
Yeah, maybe
You
I'll just,
can-
yeah.
I'm sorry?
So you can set, when you set up the group, the lesson itself, the Zoom link itself, you can set it up so it doesn't have a waiting room.
Right, I can set up a password, but I
Yeah.
can't do it
But-
with one more week on the original setup. I'm gonna leave it, but then I have to do a new setup in 2 weeks. I set it up for 7 sessions. And so I have one more, and then after that I'm gonna reset up, and then I'm gonna do it without a waiting room and use a password.
Mhm.
So everybody.
Sometimes somehow or another people can get in anyway by mistake if they're really hacking, but it seems to be a rare thing.
Yeah, I believe you. I mean,
Dale, did you hack?
if somebody wants to hack their way in, I mean,
Good.
just a hate, I can't believe it, but
They
okay.
might learn something.
Yeah.
Let them try. Okay, everyone have a good evening.
Okay,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you very much, Rabbi.